Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever wondered why some women command a room without saying a word, why their presence alone shifts the energy, this is for you. It's not about beauty, status, or charm. It's about powerful energy, quiet confidence, and the way they speak without begging to be heard. Stay with me, because the way high-value women talk to men will change the way you see communication forever. This isn't just about how you speak, it's about how you show up. Confidence is not always about being the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes it's about the calm presence that turns heads without even trying. When someone truly values themselves, they don't need to beg for anyone's attention. Their aura speaks louder than any performance could. In conversations, they don't adjust their truth just to be liked. They know that the right people will be drawn to their authenticity, not a curated version of them. Attention may come and go, but respect is something that is earned through consistency and character. There's a quiet power in not needing to prove anything. The energy of self-worth creates a magnetism that cannot be faked. The way they speak is grounded, certain, and full of intent. That kind of presence doesn't shout. It resonates. When they engage with someone, they do it with clarity, not chaos. There's no over-explaining, no pleading for understanding. They speak with purpose, with an inner belief that their voice matters. In a world where many try to gain favor by being agreeable, they stand firm in who they are. They don't shrink themselves to make others comfortable. In fact, they challenge others simply by being unwavering in their truth. There's nothing arrogant about it, just a calm understanding of their worth. Every word, every silence is chosen with precision. They don't need to fill every gap in conversation to feel secure. They let the silence do the heavy lifting when necessary, because their energy already speaks volumes. They don't engage in desperate conversations designed to win over approval. Their communication is a reflection of their values, not a tool for manipulation. When they talk, it's not to get attention. It's to share insight, emotion, or wisdom. They don't lower their standards just to keep someone interested. If someone walks away, they don't chase. They understand that alignment matters more than attention. They're selective with their time, their energy, and their words. Not everyone earns access to their world, and that boundary is non-negotiable. There's elegance in that restraint. And this is where the most elegant word is beautiful. In the world of marketing topics, there is no such thing as not knowing what to say. There is no such thing as not knowing what to say. There is no such thing as not knowing what to say. It's not about being cold. It's about being clear. Clear about what they expect, what they deserve, and what they refuse to tolerate. They have no interest in dominating others. They aim to connect. But that connection must come with mutual respect. They will not tolerate being spoken over, dismissed, or undervalued. And they don't need to scream to make that known. Their tone alone carries enough weight to command the room. They understand that how you allow others to treat you begins with how you carry yourself. In conversation, they bring their whole self. Thoughts, experiences, wisdom, and strength. There's no performative act, no facade. Just raw, unapologetic authenticity wrapped in grace. That kind of presence cannot be ignored. It shifts the energy, raises the standard, and challenges others to show up fully or step aside. It's not that they never feel nervous or insecure. They're simply committed to rising above those feelings. They've done the inner work. They've spent time building themselves up, piece by piece, lesson by lesson. So when they speak, it's not from a place of fear. It's from a foundation of self-trust. That trust radiates in every interaction. It's not about having the perfect words. It's about speaking from a place that is real. They don't flatter to impress. They don't fake laughter to be liked. They don't say yes when everything inside them says no. That kind of integrity in communication is rare and powerful. It sets them apart without needing to say so. In any room, they don't look around to measure their worth based on who's present. They bring the same level of presence and authenticity, whether they're speaking to a stranger or a king. That consistency builds reputation. People learn to trust that what they say is what they mean. There's no guesswork, no hidden agenda. They don't rely on charm to navigate relationships. They rely on clarity and emotional intelligence. They don't apologize for their standards, nor do they make others feel small to feel powerful. Their power isn't loud, it's grounded. It's the kind of power that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying much. And when they do speak, people listen, not out of fear, but out of respect. They understand that true influence begins within. External validation may feel good in the moment, but it can never replace inner certainty. They don't outsource their self-worth to compliments, likes, or temporary attention. Their confidence is built on their values, their character, and their growth. So they don't chase approval, they attract alignment. And then they win. Such approaches work better. They attract alignment. They're not afraid of someone walking away. They know that losing someone who doesn't respect them is never a loss. That mindset changes how they show up in every conversation. They don't beg for clarity. They ask once. They don't accept mixed signals. They move on. They don't settle for crumbs. They wait for the feast they deserve. Their voice carries intention. It's not rushed. It's not anxious. And it's not performative. It's rooted in truth. They know when to speak and when to pause. They understand the power of words, and they use them to uplift, to connect, to clarify, not to control. They don't waste energy on meaningless debates or ego-driven arguments. They pick their battles with wisdom. They're emotionally aware, but not emotionally reactive. There's a difference between reacting from insecurity and responding from strength. And they know it well. They choose to respond with composure. That's not weakness. It's mastery. A mastery built on patience, discipline, and emotional clarity. They carry themselves in a way that makes others rise or retreat. That's the silent impact of someone who knows their value. There's nothing forced about it. They're not seeking to dominate. They simply won't be diminished. They make space for others without shrinking themselves. And in doing so, they become a mirror that reflects to others what strength, dignity, and confidence truly look like. Their presence becomes a standard, a reminder of what's possible when you stop performing and start embodying your worth. Conversations with them aren't forgettable. They leave an impression, not because they're loud, but because they're real. And above all, they understand that the way you talk to others reflects how you talk to yourself. So they've learned to speak to themselves with kindness, encouragement, and honesty. That self-talk forms the blueprint for every external interaction. That's why their conversations are so impactful. They come from a place of inner harmony. They don't need drama to feel alive. They don't need chaos to feel interesting. They bring peace, and peace is power. That's the kind of energy that builds empires, inspires respect, and transforms relationships. Not through control, but through confidence. Boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are doors that determine who gets to walk in. They are a declaration of self-respect, a silent yet powerful message that says, I know what I deserve. Setting a boundary doesn't require anger, volume, or conflict. It requires clarity, consistency, and calm. There is no need to justify every limit placed or explain every decision made. There is no need to justify every limit placed or explain every decision made. When someone understands their worth, they no longer feel the need to apologize for protecting their peace. Saying no becomes a natural act of self-care, not a confrontation. Time, energy, and attention are guarded not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Not everyone is meant to have access to everything. That realization changes how interactions unfold. In every interaction, there's a choice: to people please or to stay rooted in truth. Choosing truth may disappoint others, but it will never betray the self. It takes courage to hold a line when others push against it. It's not always easy, but it is always necessary. Respect isn't demanded through force. It's taught through repetition. When someone says what they mean and follows through, people learn how to treat them. Boundaries teach others what is acceptable and what is not. Without them, communication becomes muddy and relationships become draining. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. And clarity is one of the most compassionate things anyone can offer. When limits are communicated, they are done with intention, not emotion. There is no need to over-explain or soften the truth to make others comfortable. A simple, firm statement is often enough. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. Or, I need space. These phrases are not harsh. They are clean, clear, and honest. Those who respect truth will appreciate the directness. Those who don't may resist, but that's not a reason to compromise. A boundary is not a negotiation. It is a reflection of what has been learned through pain, experience, and healing. Once that lesson is integrated, it becomes a core part of one's voice. There's strength in knowing what is tolerated and what is not. That strength doesn't need to be loud or defensive. It just needs to be consistent. People may push back when limits are set, especially if they benefited from the lack of them. That's not a sign to fold. It's a sign that the boundary is working. No longer saying yes to everything doesn't make someone difficult. It makes them discerning. And discernment is the foundation of powerful relationships. It filters out what drains, distracts, and depletes. What remains are connections built on mutual respect and shared understanding. That's where real trust and depth begin to grow. There is no guilt in self-preservation. The world often teaches that being kind means being available to everyone. But that's a recipe for burnout. True kindness starts with self. Saying no to others is often a way of saying yes to well-being, focus, and peace. People may not always like it, but those who matter won't punish healthy choices. Emotional maturity means being okay with disappointing others, if it means honoring truth. Trying to keep everyone happy is not strength, it's self-erasure. Boundaries reclaim lost parts of the self that were once given away too freely. That reclamation isn't selfish, it's sacred. Speaking up doesn't make someone difficult. It means they value the relationship enough to be honest. Silence often creates resentment, while clarity fosters understanding. Expressing a limit isn't a rejection, it's an invitation to engage with respect. If someone walks away because a line was drawn, they were never truly aligned to begin with. Real connection survives truth. It survives limits. It grows stronger because of them. Avoiding discomfort to maintain peace is not peace. It's denial. Growth happens when there is room for both yes and no, for agreement and disagreement, for closeness and space. Having boundaries is not about control. It's about self-leadership. It's about knowing what leads to peace and protecting that fiercely. There's no need to convince anyone to understand a limit. Understanding is optional. Respect is not. The goal isn't to be liked, it's to be in alignment. Alignment means not compromising values just to keep the peace. It means trusting intuition when it says, "This isn't right for me." Every time a boundary is honored, self-trust deepens. That trust becomes the foundation for greater strength and clearer choices in the future. In love, in friendship, in business, and in family, boundaries create the container for trust to grow. Without them, resentment festers. Without them, expectations remain unspoken and unmet. Clear boundaries prevent future conflict. They remove the guesswork and replace it with certainty. This is where I end and you begin. This is what I will allow and this is what I won't. It's not rejection, it's regulation. It's not cold, it's mature. It keeps chaos out and welcomes connection that respects structure. Not everyone will understand it. That's okay. The point is not to be understood by all, but to be true to self, always. Over time, boundaries become effortless. They stop being announcements and start becoming energy. They're felt before they're spoken. People begin to adjust naturally, sensing that there is a standard in place. A quiet strength radiates from someone who is no longer available for disrespect. There's no need for drama or defensiveness, just presence. Boundaries reduce anxiety, eliminate confusion, and increase clarity in all forms of communication. They are the unsaid lines that shape how relationships evolve. When those lines are clear, love becomes safer, conversations become easier, and life becomes simpler. Living with boundaries is an act of emotional intelligence. It's a sign that someone has chosen growth over comfort. They've learned that pleasing everyone is not only impossible, it's a betrayal of the self. They are willing to be misunderstood in order to be free. They no longer equate rejection with failure. Instead, they see it as redirection. Saying no to what depletes makes space for what nurtures. And over time, those healthy choices become second nature. There's no guilt, only clarity, no shame. And in that strength lies peace, power, and profound self-respect. There is no more after that. There is only beauty. There is only love. There is only courage. There is only healing. Listening is an art form, one that requires presence more than performance. It's not just about hearing words, but about understanding intention, emotion, and energy behind them. When someone listens with depth, they aren't waiting to speak. They are holding space. They don't interrupt, judge, or rush the moment. Instead, they tune in with curiosity, not control. True listening builds trust, because it shows that what's being said matters. There's a stillness in that type of attention, a calm, centered presence that invites honesty. People open up more when they feel truly seen and heard. And that kind of listening doesn't come from ego. It comes from empathy. It says, "You matter, and I'm here with you." Conversations are not competitions for airtime. There are sacred exchanges that reveal character, values, and vision. When someone speaks, their words carry weight because they've first taken the time to understand the moment. They don't fill silence out of nervousness or the need to dominate. They know that silence is not empty. It's full of potential. It creates room for reflection, for clarity, for truth to rise. Speaking without intention dilutes the message. But when words are chosen mindfully, Every sentence becomes a statement of presence. It's not about impressing others with how much is known. It's about expressing what truly matters. Less noise, more meaning. When words are spoken with purpose, they leave an imprint. The intention behind them resonates more than their volume. There's no need to overshare or overperform to feel valuable. Thoughtful speech is a sign of self-awareness. It shows that what's being said has been lived, felt, and processed. There's maturity in knowing when to speak and when to simply be. Conversations are not opportunities to prove worth. They are bridges to understanding. And the most powerful voice is one that doesn't try to overpower. It simply speaks from a place of grounded clarity. That kind of presence invites connection, not comparison. In any dialogue, tone matters just as much as content. Words can heal or harm depending on how they're delivered. Speaking with intention means taking responsibility for both what is said and how it's said. Calm communication does not equal weakness. It reflects emotional discipline. Raising a voice to gain control only creates distance. But speaking with conviction, even softly, creates impact. When clarity is paired with compassion, conversations become transformative. It's not about being right. It's about being real. Real enough to say what's true without attacking. Real enough to hold space without needing to dominate. That's emotional intelligence in action. Purposeful speaking means not wasting time with gossip, drama, or idle chatter. It means choosing topics that uplift, inspire, or bring insight. Conversations become powerful when they reflect values, not insecurities. When someone knows who they are, they don't need to drag others down to feel lifted. They use words to build, not to break. And they don't entertain negativity disguised as curiosity. Their voice carries influence because it's rooted in something deeper than opinion. It's rooted in experience. They've earned their perspective, and they don't throw it around carelessly. Their words may be few, but they echo long after the moment passes. Being selective with speech doesn't mean being silent. It means being strategic. It's understanding that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every question deserves a response. Silence can be a boundary, a mirror, or a message in itself. Choosing when and how to speak reflects confidence, not caution. It shows that there's no urgency to prove anything. When someone is aligned with their values, their communication becomes more intentional. They don't speak to fill space, they speak to create space for connection. Every word is a choice, and in that choice lies power. Power that doesn't shout. It resonates. There's also wisdom in asking the right questions. Being a great communicator isn't just about delivering messages. It's about drawing others out. A thoughtful question can unlock someone's truth more than 100 opinions. It shows care, curiosity, and clarity. Listening without judgment and speaking without agenda creates a safe space for growth. It allows relationships to deepen and trust to build naturally. In such conversations, vulnerability becomes possible, not because someone demanded it, but because they made it safe. That's the beauty of purposeful communication. It transforms not just how we speak, but how we connect. There's no rush in conversations when confidence is present. When someone is secure in themselves, they don't need to interrupt to feel heard. They wait. They allow others to express without constantly turning the focus back on themselves. That patience is powerful. It reveals self-control, respect, and genuine interest. People remember how they felt during a conversation, far more than what was said. Being a grounded communicator leaves others feeling understood, not judged, supported, not dismissed. And that emotional imprint becomes part of their presence, one that speaks louder than any monologue ever could. Purposeful speech also means knowing when to walk away. Not every conversation deserves energy. Not every argument needs engagement. Speaking with intention also means choosing silence when it serves peace. There's no weakness in that. In fact, it's one of the highest forms of strength. To not react, to not explain, to not defend when it's unnecessary. It shows that one's peace is more valuable than being right. That level of discernment comes from experience, from pain, from growth. And it redefines communication, not as a tool to control, but as a gift to be used wisely. Ultimately, the power of intentional communication lies in its simplicity. The more outlined we are, the more we learn. As a simplicity, say what you mean what you say, listen with presence, speak with clarity. Let your words reflect your values. Let your silences reflect your wisdom. Communicate not to be heard, but to be understood. And choose depth over drama, truth over noise, purpose over performance. In that space, connections become richer. Voices become softer, but stronger. And every conversation becomes a reflection of who you are becoming, not who you are trying to be. That's not just communication. That's transformation. Confidence is not the loudest voice in the room. It's the calmest. It's the steady gaze that doesn't flinch, the posture that doesn't collapse under pressure, and the tone that doesn't rise to prove anything. It doesn't need validation or applause to exist. Real confidence begins with a deep sense of self-trust, an inner knowing that nothing external can shake. It's the way someone walks into a room without needing to announce their presence, yet everyone feels it. There's no desperation to be liked, no urge to please, just a quiet certainty that who they are is enough. It radiates from the inside out, through body language, energy, and the way they speak. Not rushed, not defensive, just rooted. In every interaction, confidence is felt more than seen. It's in the ability to maintain eye contact without intimidation. It's in a steady voice that doesn't rise and fall with approval or rejection. It's the patience to listen fully before responding, because there's no fear of silence. There's no need to fill space with noise when presence already speaks volumes. Confidence doesn't beg for attention. It commands it without trying. It doesn't compete or compare, because it knows that worth isn't determined by someone else's value. This self-assurance doesn't come from perfection, but from embracing both strengths and flaws without apology. It allows authenticity to lead the way, because nothing is more powerful than being fully yourself in a world that pressures conformity. How someone carries themselves says more than their words ever could. Posture that is open and upright, shoulders relaxed, movements deliberate. These are the subtle signals of someone grounded in their worth. Every gesture, every step speaks of intention. There's no fidgeting, no restlessness, because there's no insecurity demanding performance. Posture. That is more important. Their body becomes an extension of their inner alignment. When they walk, it's with direction. When they sit, it's with presence. Even stillness becomes a language. The absence of tension is its own form of power. It tells the world, I know who I am. And that energy cannot be faked. It's built through experiences, choices, and a relentless commitment to self-respect. A confident communicator doesn't rush to speak. They pause, reflect, and choose words that carry weight. They don't seek to dominate a conversation, but to contribute meaningfully to it. Their tone is measured, their language intentional. There's a calm clarity in how they express themselves that invites attention, not demands it. They're not afraid of disagreement, because they're not dependent on being agreed with. Confidence allows for curiosity, for dialogue, for difference. There are so many ways to be confident. Confidence can be meaningful, and it's not defined. It doesn't crumble under critique. It learns, adapts, and keeps moving forward. There's no need to convince anyone of anything. Truth doesn't require force. It just requires courage. Presence is the silent signature of confidence. It's being fully engaged in the now, not distracted by doubts or rehearsing responses. It's the ability to sit in uncertainty without needing to control it. People feel this energy. It makes them feel safe, seen, and drawn in. When someone is truly present, their energy fills the space without overwhelming it. They're not trying to be everything for everyone. They're simply being fully themselves. That wholeness creates magnetism. It doesn't scream for attention. It attracts it naturally. Confidence isn't loud, but it's unforgettable. Because the energy of someone who's whole within themselves cannot be ignored. Boundaries are another way confidence speaks without a word. Saying no without guilt. Walking away from disrespect. And not shrinking to accommodate others. These are all acts of self-assurance. When someone knows their value, they don't tolerate what diminishes it. They don't explain their standards to make others comfortable. Their limits are non-negotiable. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. They don't chase. They don't beg. They attract through clarity. Confidence doesn't try to fix or rescue others to feel worthy. It understands that not everything deserves a response, and not everyone deserves access. That restraint is power in its purest form. Confidence is also the ability to remain centered when tested. Criticism doesn't break them, it redirects them. Rejection doesn't define them, it redirects them. Setbacks aren't personal. They're part of the process. That resilience comes from knowing that identity isn't tied to outcomes. Wins and losses don't determine value. Character does. That's why confident people can celebrate others without jealousy and support without insecurity. They aren't threatened by success around them because they're rooted in abundance, not scarcity. They don't measure themselves against others. They measure themselves against their potential. That focus allows them to rise again and again with grace and grit. What confidence isn't is arrogance. It doesn't posture or pretend. It doesn't speak over others to feel superior. It doesn't hide behind titles, wealth, or external achievements. Confidence is quiet, humble, and grounded. It admits mistakes, learns, and evolves. It isn't afraid to say, I don't know, because it's secure enough to seek growth. That kind of honesty is rare, and it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who own their truth without needing to perform it. Confidence gives others permission to be real too. It creates a space where authenticity is the standard, not the exception. Even in solitude, confidence is evident. It shows in how someone spends time alone, whether they seek validation through distractions, or whether they are comfortable in their own company. The ability to sit with oneself without needing constant noise or attention reflects inner peace. Confidence means not needing a crowd to feel complete. It thrives in quiet moments, in reflection, in self-connection. Because when someone is at home within themselves, they don't fear being alone. They embrace it as sacred time to recharge, to reflect, and to realign. That self-containment becomes the foundation for stronger relationships because they come from fullness. At its core, confidence is not about proving anything. It's about knowing, deeply and quietly, that who you are is enough. That your voice matters, even when it shakes. That your presence has value, even when it goes unnoticed. It's not perfection that creates impact. It's presence. It's how you show up, how you hold yourself, and how you treat others. True confidence doesn't demand the spotlight. It becomes the light. Not by trying, but simply by being. And that kind of confidence doesn't fade with time. It deepens. It becomes unshakable, undeniable, and unforgettable. Because it was never about what the world gave. It was about what was built within.